Ever stepped off a plane and felt like your brain was still, like, way back in the place you left? Yeah, that's jet lag for you.
Ugh, tell me about it.
But what if, and this is where it gets really cool, what if science could actually fix that?
Okay, now you've got my attention.
Today's deep dive is all about that tiny timekeeper in your cells, your circadian rhythm,
Right, right.
and how scientists are trying to hack it.
Hmm.
We're diving into some seriously cutting-edge research, fresh from the lab, stuff that might just change how we travel, sleep,
Oh, wow.
and even fight disease.
It's amazing what they're finding out. Scientists have discovered this protein. It's called casein kinase 1 delta, or CK1 if you want to be fancy.
Catchy.
It's basically like the conductor of our internal orchestra, keeping everything in sync.
Okay, a conductor. I like that. So CK1 is what? Leading the orchestra, making sure our bodies are keeping time?
Exactly. Our circadian rhythm, that internal clock, relies on this delicate balance of different proteins all working together. CK1 is special because it directly interacts with these other proteins. It's influencing their activity, making sure everything runs smoothly. Like, imagine CK1 making sure the violins come in right on time, and the trumpets don't start too early.
It's all about keeping things in sync.
Precisely.
But, and I'm sure you're going to tell me all about this, I've heard things get really interesting with this protein. Something about two versions of it.
Oh, you're ahead of the game. You see, there's actually two slightly different forms of CK1 called isoforms.
Isoforms, okay.
They're called DO1 and 2. Think of them like two keys. They both fit the lock, but they turn it at slightly different speeds, leading to different outcomes for the clock.
Two keys, slightly different speeds. Okay, I'm with you so far. But why does that even matter? What difference does it make if one isoform is a bit faster or slower?
Well, it turns out that even tiny variations in this protein structure can have a huge impact.
Okay.
These isoforms, A1 and DO2, they vary only slightly.
Slightly. How slightly are we talking?
We're talking a difference of just 16 amino acids at the very end of the protein, a region called the C-terminal tail.
The tail, right?
But, and this is the kicker, those 16 amino acids make all the difference. They change how the protein interacts with other molecules.
So we're talking about a tiny difference with potentially massive consequences.
Exactly. It's like, imagine a single misspelled word in a whole instruction manual. It can throw everything off.
Right. Yeah.
And this specific misspelling, or variation in this case, influences how much each isoform can be turned down or inhibited.
Turned down. Okay.
There's this process called phosphorylation, where a phosphate group, think of it like a little tag, gets attached to the C-terminal tail of CK1. The more tags a particular isoform has, the less active it becomes.
So these tags are like putting on the brakes,
Mhm.
slowing down the conductor's tempo, so to speak.
You got it. And because those two isoforms, 1 and 8 and 2, have slightly different tails, they get tagged at different rates,
Okay.
which ultimately affects how strongly each one influences our circadian rhythm.
Okay, let me see if I've got this straight. We've got these two versions of CK1, each with a slightly different tail.
Right.
And those tail differences influence how much they get tagged, which ultimately determines their impact on our circadian rhythms.
Nailed it.
Okay, good, good. But tell me, this has been bugging me. Why were scientists so baffled by why these nearly identical proteins, EGA1 and 2, had such distinct impacts on our circadian rhythms?
Because, and this is what they just figured out, it all boils down to that tiny segment at the end of CK1, that C-terminal tail we were talking about.
So one isoform was essentially tapping the brakes a bit more than the other.
Exactly. It's like discovering that the reason those two keys turn the lock at different speeds is because of a tiny groove on their handles.
Wow, that's incredible. So this tiny difference in the C-terminal tail could be the key to tackling things like jet lag.
You're getting it.
Tell me more.
Yeah.
How are scientists actually using this information?
Well, it all comes down to understanding how those two isoforms, cell 1 and 2, differ in their tagging patterns and how that affects their influence on our internal clocks.
Because if scientists can figure out how to control which isoform is more active, they could potentially reset our internal clocks after traveling across time zones.
Now you're thinking like a chronobiologist. But it gets even wilder. CK1 isn't just about jet lag. It plays a vital role in all sorts of crucial processes. We're talking cell division, cancer development,
Oh, wow.
even neurodegenerative diseases like
Well,
Alzheimer's.
hold on. We're talking about a tiny protein with a massive job description.
Yeah.
How does it manage to wear so many hats? How does one protein influence so many different things in our bodies?
That's the amazing thing about proteins, you see, their functions. They're often like Context dependent.
Context dependent, okay.
It's like CK1 has this whole wardrobe of costumes, right? And it changes outfits depending on the role it needs to play in the cell.
Okay, so depending on the outfit or the context, CK1 can kind of change its tune.
Exactly. Let's take cell division, for example. CK1 interacts with a totally different set of proteins there.
Okay.
It regulates the cell cycle, making sure cells divide in a controlled way, which is, crucial for growth and development.
So every time our bodies make new cells, this tiny timekeeper is involved? That's wild. But what happens when things go wrong with this delicate dance?
That's when we start seeing issues, sometimes big issues like cancer, right?
Right.
Uncontrolled cell growth, that's a hallmark of cancer. And because CK1 is involved in regulating cell division, well, it's become a big deal in cancer research.
So scientists are trying to figure out if they can, manipulate CK1 to stop cancer cells from dividing out of control.
You got it. They're exploring ways to develop drugs that would target the specific functions of CK1 involved in cancer, but without messing up its other important roles.
It's like trying to remove a single grain of sand from a giant hourglass without, disturbing the flow. Sounds ridiculously hard.
Well, it definitely is, but the payoff could be huge. If we could successfully manipulate CK1's activity in this way, we could potentially develop more targeted therapies for cancer, therapies with way fewer side effects.
That would be revolutionary. And this all comes from understanding this one tiny protein in its two forms. Amazing. You mentioned earlier that CK1 is also being studied in connection with neurodegenerative diseases, things like Alzheimer's. How does that fit into the picture?
Ah, good memory. The exact role of CK1 in neurodegenerative diseases, it's still a bit of a mystery. But research suggests it might be involved in the formation of those abnormal protein clumps we see in conditions like Alzheimer's.
You're talking about those protein aggregates that, disrupt brain function.
Exactly. Some studies suggest that CK1 might play a role in either promoting or, get this, inhibiting the formation of these aggregates. It seems to depend on the context.
So we don't know if CK1 is a good guy or a bad guy in these neurodegenerative diseases.
We're still figuring that out, and that's why this research is so important. Scientists are trying to understand exactly how CK1 is involved and whether targeting it could lead to new treatments for these, really tough diseases.
So it's like trying to solve a complex jigsaw puzzle where the pieces keep changing shape.
Yeah, kind of.
We've gone from jet lag to cancer to Alzheimer's,
Yeah.
and it all seems to link back to this one tiny protein and its remarkable ability to influence so many different processes in our bodies. It's incredible to think that such a small variation in this protein, those 16 amino acids in the C-terminal tail, could have such a huge impact on our health and well-being.
It really underscores the importance of fundamental research.
Absolutely.
By delving into the tiny details of a single protein like CK1, we unlock a deeper understanding of a whole bunch of biological processes.
It really highlights the interconnectedness of everything within our bodies, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I have to ask, with all this talk about manipulating CK1 for therapies, are there any potential downsides?
It's a critical question, for sure. As with any potential therapeutic target, understanding the potential risks and benefits is absolutely critical.
Right.
It's a delicate balancing act, and one of the biggest challenges is that CK1 is involved in so many different processes.
Yeah.
If we develop a drug that broadly inhibits or activates CK1, it could have unintended consequences for other vital cellular functions.
It's like trying to fine-tune a complex machine with a sledgehammer.
Yeah,
You need the right tools and a delicate touch.
100%. Researchers are working really hard to develop highly specific inhibitors or activators,
Okay.
ones that target only the functions of CK1 they want to modify without disrupting its other roles in the cell.
Finding that level of precision, though, that seems unbelievably challenging. But if they succeed, the possibilities are truly mind-blowing.
Absolutely.
Imagine being able to reset our internal clocks after traveling, or developing more targeted therapies for cancer, or even Alzheimer's with fewer side effects. It's incredible.
It would be a game changer for sure.
It's like science fiction becoming reality.
And it all starts with unraveling the mysteries of this one fascinating protein, CK1.
Honestly, it's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. All of this happening inside of us, like at a microscopic level,
Right.
orchestrated by this one tiny protein, this CK1.
It's pretty amazing.
This deep dive has definitely made me see our internal clocks, those circadian rhythms, in a whole new light. I mean, they're crucial to our health.
It really makes you appreciate those tiny timekeepers ticking away inside us, doesn't it?
For sure. But it seems like with every answer, science just uncovers more questions, right?
Yeah, that's science for you.
So where do you think research into CK1 will go from here? What are you most curious about?
Oh, the possibilities are endless, really. Scientists are always coming up with new ways to study these things in more and more detail. But me personally, I'm really interested to see where our understanding of CK1's role in neurodegenerative diseases goes.
Right, right. I can imagine researchers are working hard to crack that code. It would be huge if targeting this one protein could lead to breakthroughs in treating those kinds of diseases.
Absolutely, it would be groundbreaking. And imagine, if we could even develop personalized chronotherapy.
Personalized chronotherapy, what's that?
It's this idea that we could be tailoring treatments based on an individual's circadian rhythm, their own unique CK1 profile. Pretty futuristic stuff.
So you're saying that in the future, our internal clocks might be the key to more effective personalized medicine. That's wild.
It's definitely within the realm of possibility, but honestly, I think even beyond the potential for medical breakthroughs, the most important thing here is just a newfound appreciation for how intricate and complex our own biology is.
Totally. We often take our bodies for granted. This deep dive into CK1 has been this crazy reminder of the incredible things happening inside us every single second of every day.
Exactly. It really shows you just how much we still don't know about the human body.
But hey, every new discovery brings us one step closer.
Right. One step closer to unraveling those mysteries, that's for sure.
And who knows what other mind-blowing things we'll find. Maybe one day we'll be able to manipulate our circadian rhythms whenever we want,
Yeah.
say goodbye to jet lag forever. And who knows what else? Maybe the secret to living longer, healthier lives is hidden in there somewhere.
I like the way you think. The future of chronobiology is wide open, that's for sure. I can't wait to see what we discover next.
Well, that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive into the world of CK1 and the amazing circadian rhythms that keep us ticking. But hey, if you're as fascinated by this tiny timekeeper as we are, don't worry, we've got you covered. Head over to our YouTube and Spotify channels. We've got tons of extra stuff for you there, more cool facts, extra details we didn't have time for, plus links to all the research we talked about today.
We're going to be digging even deeper into the science behind CK1, trust me. And we'll be exploring all the different ways it's connected to various health issues. It's going to be fascinating.
So hit that subscribe button and join us on this incredible journey. You won't regret it. Until next time, keep those internal clocks ticking, and remember, there's a whole universe of knowledge out there waiting to be explored.